It's time for new countertops in this kitchen. The current countertops are ceramic tile, 6-inch squares, and it's the original installation, and they are about 30 years old, I believe, and they definitely show their age. You can tell here in the high use areas they're starting to wear down, and the grout's coming out of the space between the tiles. And we have some cracks here and there. Some say that it would just give it character to have cracks like that. But I would say that this tile's useful life is over. I've considered a few possible replacements for this ceramic tile. I've done a little bit of tile work in the past. You can see right here some videos of me doing some floor tile, and countertop tile is very similar. But that takes a lot of time, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this project. The other possibility is laminate or formica countertops, which are very easy to install, very easy to fit to the area. You just need to cut them to fit and glue them down. But the downside of that is they're kind of cheap looking. They're definitely not an upgrade over what exists here at the house. So I'm kind of leaning against that. What I think I'm going to go with is granite slab countertops. Granite will go on quickly because instead of laying one little tile down at a time, I can just set a couple pieces of granite and wash my hands of the whole affair. It's also reasonably priced. There's an outfit pretty close to me that sells it cheap enough that I think I can get away with enough granite to do the whole project for probably around $400, which that's in the same ballpark as the laminate countertops. The only downside of granite is it's kind of tough to cut. You can't score it and break it with a utility knife. You have to use some specialized tools or improvise, which I think I'm going to go with the latter. But at any rate, I think I'm going with the granite countertops. I have a little cabinet here that I got to put a countertop on. You can see I have just a makeshift piece of granite on here right now because the tile on here was so bad that it was cracked and falling off, and the mastic underneath had completely given out. So I just had a scrap that I put on here. But I have this little cabinet here. I have this main area here, and then I have this little cabinet off by itself here. The granite comes in 9-foot sections, so I think I only need 2 pieces, but we'll see. I may be wrong on that. I haven't priced it out, or I've only done one other job with granite in my life, and it came out well enough that I'm going to try to do a how-to video on it. So I'm not really practiced at the art of granite, but that's kind of what makes things interesting. It's like an adventure. But the first thing we need to do on this project is remove all of the old tile. I'm going to try to remove it without breaking it, because you never know. I mean, on Craigslist or something, somebody might pay $10 for a pile of old used tiles. So if I can recoup $10, hey, sounds good to me. So I'll remove these tiles. As you can see, I've already removed the sink, garbage disposal, microwave, and range. If you're interested in those procedures, most of them I've documented on video, so if you want to learn how to take out those items, check out these links right here. But as far as today's project goes, let's get started. I think I will start at the top and just remove this backsplash. I think just a hammer and chisel is the way to go, and just start breaking these off. Luckily, they just used cheap mastic, so they should pop off pretty easily. So I'll give this a try here. so much for saving them. I already chipped it. I'm trying my best not to harm the drywall behind these tiles. One down, many to go. Well, it never fails. 5 minutes into the job and I've already hurt myself. So now I'll put on gloves. I'm making some progress now. I got most of that backsplash off, and a pleasant surprise has been that these tiles have been coming off much easier and I've been able to save them. I don't know if the original installer used a different glue or if it just adhered differently for some other reason, but I definitely am happy with this recent development. So, still usable tiles if somebody wanted to go to the trouble of cleaning them up. I'll start on the countertops by trying to pull off these end pieces here. There was an accumulation of munchies, so hopefully they'll just pull right off. Turns out some of these aren't stuck on very tightly. That's good for me. It's probably because over time the glue doesn't adhere really well to the plywood. I noticed that it does stick to the drywall really well though. So that's just something to note for the future. I've finished removing all of the edge pieces from the countertops, and now it's time to remove the flat tiles. And I think this is pretty typical of 25, 30-year-old installations of tile directly on plywood. And that is that it really starts to lose adhesion with the moisture and the constant pressure from people leaning on it, pots and pans, you know, everyday use of the surface. So we'll just very lightly pull this up. You can tell it's not sticking on there much at all. See how that whole area is moving? So this is pretty much lost its sticky. Here's a good one right here I wanted to show you. Easy as pie. I've finished removing the tile from the countertops, and what I have left is just the remaining glue from when the tile was installed. So what I'll do is take a scraper and just scrape this off as best I can. And after that's done, I will assess the plywood to see if I think that I can reuse it or if I have to replace it. It actually looks like it's in pretty good shape. It's solid, it's not rotten or anything. I've found that the best way to remove this particular tile adhesive is to use a chisel to scrape it away because it's fairly brittle. And then go over it with a palm sander to really smooth it out and eliminate any remaining residue. I've finished removing all of the old tile adhesive via scraping and sanding, and I've decided that the existing plywood subcounters are sufficient for the new granite. They're structurally sound, they're relatively flat, and they don't have any damage from rot or moisture. They're also mounted solidly to the cabinets, so these are all prerequisites for a good underlayment for granite. I believe even the existing sink cutout will work. I might have to modify it slightly, but it should be serviceable. The next thing I need to do is measure all of the countertops and decide how many pieces of granite I need. They cut and sell the granite in 9-foot sections. So I'll start with this long countertop. And 9 feet takes me to right here. This will work well because one piece goes past this corner, which is important because I will need to do a 45-degree cut here so that the bull nose meets in this corner, and then a straight cut back to the wall. So 9 feet is plenty for right there. For the next section, I need roughly 3 feet. For this little cabinet, I need a little bit less than 2 feet, so that's about 5 feet. And right here, I need 3 feet, so that's about 8 feet. So 2 pieces should give me some to spare. So the next step is to first decide what color I want and go into town and hopefully get the granite here without incident. Until then, thanks for watching.